I was definitely the person who was waiting for that big aha moment.
Safety and what's best for you are not the same thing.
They're completely different.
Completely different things, particularly if you're on the path of like growth and evolution and wanting to grow and build a business. It's not always going to be safe. It's not always going to feel quote unquote safe.
The time to jump in is actually now, right? And you might be still having those weird thoughts. And this is that moment for bravery where you actually get to go, okay, I'm going to challenge the program. Welcome back. It's exciting to be back in the studio.
Yay.
And for you guys, you get an episode every single week. However, we're not recording every single week.
No, we're not. We're organised.
We are organised, and that is great. So today we're talking about breakthroughs and why your breakthrough didn't last.
Yeah, and potentially why it didn't stick. I feel like it's something that we can sometimes see and witness within people in our world or people that have been like reading the books or they like read a particular book and they're like, this book changed my life. And though a few months later they fall back into the old habits and patterns. And it is something that can happen in the personal development world. So I'm excited to chat about it.
Me too. And I think the biggest thing with this is it's recognizing that a breakthrough only lasts as long as you continue to behave the way the breakthrough encourages you to behave.
Yes.
And people have multiple breakthroughs through their life. So it's not like you get this one moment. And a lot of people are waiting for that, by the way. If that's you, definitely send us a comment because there are lots of people that are like, one day I'm going to get it. One day the heavens are going to open up, God's going to appear, and everything's going to be right with the world. And it very rarely happens. And I remember being that person. I was definitely the person who was waiting for that big aha moment, that big breakthrough, the one day I'll get it. One day I will totally know exactly what I'm meant to do and it will come in a flash of lightning and be amazing. And it was so strong that as a teenager, when 18, 19, I would drive to the cliffs in Sydney when there was a storm in the trust that the storm would bring the answer.
What do you mean? That is wild. Is this like a faith thing?
What?
Like, is this because you, like, did you grow up, you grew up going to church and things like that, right? Because I'm like, this was never in my awareness, this whole like, oh my God, I'm going to have this one moment, it's going to change my whole life, my whole existence. And like, I didn't grow up in going to church or like in a religious family or a religious setting or environment. So I'm like, is that a religious thing? I'm like, that's not normal to me.
I did grow up not in a religious family. I was religious and chose to go to church. I think I needed something to believe in.
Yes, of course.
I didn't really associate the weather with God.
Uh-huh.
So I think some people do.
Yeah.
For me, it was in lightning and thunder, there's bound to be an answer.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'd drive to the cliffs and the storm would happen and I'd still have no answer. And it's like, maybe one day I'm going to turn around a corner and it's going to be written in the sky, or there's going to be a message. Like I was a message seeker.
Yeah.
So it was like one day someone's going to tell me. And then I realized that the message was actually inside and it was just the work required.
Yeah, it always is.
Can we just edit this bit out? There's an ant in my pants.
Excuse me?
Something was just crawling in my pants. I was like,
it wasn't me.
What do you mean? That is
Maybe
the
this
most
is
fucking
stay in.
rogue thing. There's an ant in my pants.
oh my God, I don't even know where I'm up to because this thing was crawling in me. That's what happens when you live in Australia, folks. Anyway, we're good now.
We're good now.
So I had this faith in the weather, and I had a faith in this answer, and I was a meaning-making machine searching for the message, like when is the message going to appear? And I think I've had multiple breakthroughs in my life, like, the realization to break up with that boyfriend because they're not treating you well, or the realization that actually what you want in life, like when I was at school, I got into medicine and I went, actually, is that actually what I want? Because I actually think that I want to have kids and be a housewife.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll do nursing instead because I can, go back to that. Because at the time when I was considering medicine, there was no provisions for women. It didn't matter. You still had to work 24-hour shifts and all that sort of stuff. So that didn't seem like it would be congruent with the goal of having a family. And so I rejected it. And that seemed like a sign to me. It was like this sign of, you got in, that's just to tell you you're smart enough. And by the way, that's not really what you want. So maybe you should do this. And so I feel like I've followed all these little threads and made them mean something to me. And there were multiple little breakthroughs of, hey, you should buy a house. And I bought a house at exactly the right time. And little breakthroughs on actually, like I remember one, I went for this job. I was a second-year nurse, and there was a job for a nurse unit manager of a maternity unit. I wasn't a midwife, and it was what's called a level 4 manager, which is quite high up. And I just thought, you know what? I'm good at leadership. I'm going to apply for that job.
Love it. Audacity.
And yeah, major audacity. And I got out there and there were all these like much older women who had lots of experience, and they were looking at me because in those days everyone went for the interview on the same day. So you sort of sat outside and you could see who your competition was. And I remember thinking, oh, maybe I need more experience. And I walked in and I aced the interview to the point that they actually offered me assistant manager. And I was like, oh, who got the main role? And then when I found out who it was, I was like, okay, no, that's not what I do want to do, so I'm going to not do that. And so there's these little breakthroughs where you go, okay, and this is not even mindset. These are just little everyday breakthroughs. However, I think when people start going, I actually need to change my life.
Yes.
The first thing they start looking for is how.
Absolutely. I feel like it's a normal approach to take, right? It's like, okay, it's like, what do I have to do? What can I add? And what has to happen differently for me to get a different result? And I feel like it's that classic, like anybody that has a base level education knows that it's like 1 + 1 is going to equal something, right?
Yeah.
And so I feel like it's normal to look for a strategy or to look for like a habit that I can implement. Or like, what is the most simple thing that I can add into my life that's going to start to change things? And it can be really great and it can give people results. And most of the time it's surface level change.
Well, the thing is I love what you said there. What can I add?
Yeah.
Because people focus on not being enough.
Yeah.
And because they're focused on not being enough, therefore they don't have success, or therefore they don't have the results that they want. And then they go, what can I add? Which can lead to burnout, overburden, feeling weighted because there's all these things that you have to keep adding. And it just feels like your mind is blocked with so much stuff that then you can't do anything.
Yeah, capacity is just completely stretched.
Yeah, and so the first thing that they add is tactics and strategy. They're looking for the step-by-step guide. Like, I want to achieve $10,000 a month in my business.
Yeah, 5 steps too. Give me the blueprint. Give me the blueprint. Give me the blueprint, the strategy.
And it's great. You can do all the strategy you want and you'll have a whole lot of information in your brain and the result won't change.
Yeah.
90% of the time. Sure, there's that one person who's like, oh, there's the strategy, and they can fully implement it because their nervous system is ready to implement it.
Yeah, I think as well, it's like it will likely give you some level of result.
Yeah.
However, is it a sustainable result? Because I think that you can stretch your capacity for a certain amount of time, yet if you're not doing the deeper work, it's like you're going to get to that point, exactly what you said, where you're burnt out, you're overwhelmed, like you're like, oh, frick, I can't keep going and I can't keep doing this. And so you're going to revert back.
And people look at us all the time and go, how do you guys run the life you do and still be okay?
And have fun.
And have a great
actually
time.
Love it. Yeah.
And the thing is it's the capacity piece.
Absolutely.
We expanded our capacity before we added burden. And what a lot of people are doing when they're doing that sort of tactics, strategy, give me the 5 steps, give me the step-by-step guide, break it down for me. When they're doing that, they're actually increasing burden before they've increased capacity.
Yeah.
And that just leads to burnout. It leads to stress. It leads to frustration. It actually leads to people going, I don't even care about all this personal development stuff. None of it works. I'm going back to my job.
Throw it all in the bin.
And they put it all away. And it's the most devastating thing to watch someone go through that, because they were either in their head when they were learning stuff or whatever. But this strategy piece, everyone uses a strategy.
Absolutely.
The problem is you can never implement a strategy that's better or that will work more than your underlying programmed strategy. So you're always layering. It's the adding, right? So if your underlying strategy is poor, just because you learn a new one doesn't mean you'll use it, because your unconscious mind is a creature of habit.
Absolutely.
And it loves to run the old strategy. So if you've got a strategy, say, of abandonment. Like, in other words, you were abandoned as a child, your parents didn't perhaps give you the time or attention you needed, then you're going to run your whole life through the filter of abandonment. So if you decide to get the strategy for how to build $10,000 in your business in a month, and you get this step-by-step guide, then you think you're implementing the new strategy, but you're implementing that and still viewing the world through the lens of abandonment, which means that as you start to build this business, you're going to think that your clients are going to abandon you, that your audience is going to abandon you.
Yeah, it's going to leak through.
That no one likes you on social media, no one's responding to your posts and all of that kind of stuff, because the old filter is still in place.
Yeah.
The new program's layered on top of the filter. You still have to look through the filter. And so we have to get deeper than that.
Yeah, I think the key thing is, like, to reiterate exactly what you've just said there, is that underlying program, that deep internal structure, and then you're putting this like conscious program on top of it, right?
Yeah.
So this one's running unconsciously. And if you think about what you do over the course of a day, there's very little that you're consciously doing. Like, so much of your existence is run by the unconscious program. And so, for instance, you've got this abandonment like program that's running at that base level of like your core identity. And then you're layering these like productivity strategies and like
time management.
Yeah. And like, this is how I'm going to hit my first 10K month, which is great. And we love like the drive and the ambition and the like the tenacity that it takes to maybe not even be aware that you have that underlying program, yet operate from that and then go, I want to change. So I want like, so we get it from the sense of you're someone that wants to improve your life.
Yep.
However, it's maybe 10% of your day that you're consciously implementing that new strategy. And the other 90%, that abandonment strategy is what's running and what's running the show and what's like filtering out into every area of your life.
And to give you an example of that, it's things like, did you tell yourself to breathe?
Yeah.
Or did you just breathe? Did you tell your heart to beat or did your heart just beat? Do you even remember the drive you just did? Because if you're sitting in the car listening to this, you possibly don't remember the last 3 sets of lights you went through because it's all happening unconsciously.
Yeah.
And yet when you go and learn a strategy, it's conscious. You learn it. You might even rote learn it. You might have an anagram for it. Like you might, one of those things where it's like, I remember an anagram from ages ago, team, together everyone achieves more. And it was supposed to make you like everyone in the workplace and work together. It didn't make Jenny, the lady who I didn't like, any better by knowing that anagram, because my unconscious program was that this person highlights where I'm not good enough, and not good enough was my favorite flavor of self-destruction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think like that's probably the core thing. So, okay, if somebody's listening to this and they're going, okay, great, I am doing that. I'm doing the tactics and the habits and I'm the person that's looking for the strategies.
Yeah.
What would you say is the layer that sits underneath that? So we know the base layer and we'll get to that soon.
Yeah.
However, I think there's another step in between.
Yeah. So once people do tactics and strategy and they don't work, then the world will tell them it's their mindset.
Yes.
It's because you're not thinking positively. It's because you're not putting in enough effort. You're not disciplined enough.
Yeah.
You don't have enough tenacity. You're not actually driven. That they'll use all these words that then make someone go and look for mindset. And so they look for this mindset stuff like, oh, okay, so I can be calm in my mind. So I'll go and get one of those apps and I'll do the mindfulness stuff. Or they read a book about how the mind works, and they'll attempt even to change their language to positive thinking.
Yes.
Like, I know I don't feel like doing this today, but actually I can do it. I know I can do it. Yes, you can do it. Go for it.
Yeah, I'd say like this level is really about them. They're attempting to override that base level program. They're like, okay, they're increasing their awareness. Maybe they've got a level of awareness around, okay, I can make sense of why I'm doing the things that I'm doing and that it's tied back to this. And okay, it's in my awareness.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to override that now. So they potentially have the realization that they have an element of choice.
Yes.
And so they can start to, again, consciously choose one particular choice.
Yes. And here they're doing things like affirmations.
Yes.
They're reassuring themselves. They're starting to hang around people that are positive because they've heard the slogan, you become like the 5 people around you. So they're starting to look at their environment and they're wondering how can they delete that person in their life because they don't want to, but they'll still hang around the positive people because maybe that will help.
Mm-hmm.
And here is where it starts to become self-deprecating even further, because guilt becomes this huge issue here. they go, I've done the strategy, I've done the tactics, I know how to do it. And now I've got this positive mindset, but I'm still not doing it. And they start to think they're broken, or that there's something wrong with them, or that they are just never going to be the right person to be successful.
Nothing ever works for me.
And yet they still have that burning desire inside of them going, this is your path, this is your purpose, but they keep having to push that down by going, this never works. I'm not going to try again. I've tried everything. That's the common phrase that they use. I've tried everything, because they've done strategy and they've done mindset. They're like, I've tried everything.
Yeah, nothing works. It's not going to work for me.
Yeah.
It will never work for me.
Yeah.
I think listening to you just then, I'm like, oh, essentially they like create a part. Like if we're to use NLP language, they create this part of themselves that's operating from positivity and like doing all the right things. And I'm like, really like got that have a go attitude. And though the predominant part is the part that's linked to that deeper unconscious programming.
Yeah, so they're showing up in the world all happy and cheery. They're going home into their room and crying at night.
Yeah, I feel like shame is a huge emotion at this level.
Yeah, I would say, guilt, shame.
Yeah.
Very, very similar at this level. Possibly even grief if they've invested a lot of money into something that's failed.
And it still hasn't worked.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And so they're in that space where it's like, I don't want to invest any more money because I've already done that. I have all the strategies. I just have to use it. And then they start flogging themselves to be more disciplined, or to, I don't know, they do stupid things. And what I mean by stupid things is things that are completely never going to work.
Yeah.
And they get so down on themselves that they end up a shell of who they are. They no longer recognize themselves. They'll actually even say things like, all that work I did made me not who I want to be. And they can become quite bitter.
Yeah, I think they go quite reactive.
Yeah.
It's like this, well, like nothing's worked. And so it is this like snappy energy of like they're so in their head. So they're so disconnected from their body, disconnected from their why, because it is this like, well, I've done everything and it still didn't work. So it's this huge victim mentality, yet pushing forward this like, everything's great and everything's positive. And it's like, oh my God, this like huge internal conflict and like cognitive dissonance between the person that they're presenting and the person that they truly feel they are internally when they're alone.
Correct. And that then leads into relationship breakdown.
Yes.
Within their close relationships. It leads to being angry and dissatisfied at work if they're still working. It leads to disconnection from their mission because they really wanted it, but now they don't feel like they're good enough to do it. And it creates this ongoing dialogue in their head of, I want this, I can't do it. I want this, I can't do it. I want this, I can't do it. And we would call that in NLP an ADK loop. So they're thinking, then feeling, then thinking, then feeling, then thinking, then feeling. And there's no exit point to that strategy, because every time they think about it, they realize that they failed. When they realize that they failed, they feel bad. And so then they think about how they can do it again.
Yeah.
And it becomes this cycle, and it's just like all of the things that go on in their head are stopping them from playing with their kids, that it's stopping them from actually connecting. If they go out somewhere and connect with someone, they go home and go, what did they say again? They said something, and they don't remember because they weren't fully present, because at the same time the person was talking, they were in their head wondering whether they were good enough. And it just goes on and on and on.
Yeah, it's so frustrating.
It's
and I think
really sad.
I think something else that I have definitely observed for people that are at this, like, for lack of a better word, level, is they hyperfixate on what's wrong with them. It's like this, but that I still can't do that, and I can't do this, but this hasn't worked for me. Like, there's zero focus on, actually, I'm doing a really great job, or this is really great, or I've seen progress in this area. And it is that, like, what you focus on expands, like something that we definitely live and breathe and talk about a lot. And they hyperfixate on, I'm broken.
And on the problem.
Yes.
Yeah. And so what happens then is their reticular activating system, the
just
part of the brain,
more and more.
sees more evidence.
Yeah.
Right? Because we look for evidence. So whatever our programs are in our mind, we're looking for evidence. So if you're telling yourself you're broken, you're going to find that evidence. If you're telling yourself you can't do it, you're going to repeatedly create problems that show you can't do it. If you are, if you have that program in your mind that's saying you're broken, then you're going to keep experiencing problems and challenges and heartbreak and accidents and all the things that are going to prove to you that that's who you are. Because our brains love sameness.
Yeah.
Our brains are there purely to keep us safe. And if everything's the same, then there's no danger.
I think people like they completely miss that mark.
Yeah.
I think people go, oh, like my unconscious is here to keep me safe, which equals my unconscious is here for me to do the thing that's best for me. And safety and what's best for you are not the same thing.
They're completely different.
Completely different things, particularly if you're on the path of like growth and evolution and wanting to grow and build a business, say. It's like, it's not always going to be safe. It's not always going to feel quote unquote safe. Like you can absolutely hold safety within yourself. However, you're going to have to stretch your comfort zone. You're going to have to stretch your capacity. You're going to have to put yourself in scenarios that your unconscious mind's going to go, mayday, like I'm stretched.
Yeah.
I want to talk into this specifically around the mindset because I can totally feel, remember, recognize when I was at that phase when I was like, I want to be better so bad. Like, why isn't it working? I've got the awareness. I can make sense of this and I can make sense of that, and I'm still not doing the things, or it's not clicking.
I'm an intelligent person, and I don't get why this is not happening.
It's like it feels like in that moment, it feels like you have this like beautiful puzzle and you've lost the last piece. And it's like, where the fuck is that final piece of the puzzle? Because it's the last little bit that I need for this to all click and make sense. And it's like, oh my God. So if you're in this phase, like frustration is so huge. It's like guilt, grief, frustration, shame. It's the worst time.
I remember being so fixated on that one last puzzle piece where I was like, everything's going okay, but I can't quite get it. There's something wrong. And I ended up in a Church of Scientology building. Don't ask me
I think you've told this story before. Go.
And I was like, I went up, I did the little, I don't even know what the test is called, but there's this test thing you do. And this chart came out that my whole life was great. So it was all up the top of the chart, like you're great, nothing's too bad. And then there was this one big thin spike downwards, and then it came up and went great again. And I'm like, oh my God, that's the one thing. That's the puzzle piece that's missing. I just have to fix it.
Oh my God, what was it?
I can't remember.
Oh,
and
cliffhanger.
And though it got me going to that church to try and find the answer for a brief period of time.
Of course.
As soon as I realized that there was a whole lot of mind control stuff going on there, I was exited quickly and never went back and never would. And so there's no recommendation here for that. However, it showed up on a graph, and because I was so hyperfixated on there's one thing, there must be one thing that I'm not getting. There must be one little thing that I just don't understand, or there's something that other people know that I don't, that they don't tell you. And it's kind of like once you get it, you get to belong in the club. Because of all that, I believed this graph. And it was like, oh my God, I found it. But what do I do now? And it still didn't help.
Yeah.
Right? Because it was never just the one thing.
No.
And it's so much deeper than what's happening on the conscious level. It's related to old programs. It's related to past. It's related to all of the evidence that your brain has collected up until now that it has created a program of safety around. And so I'll give you an example. I was talking to someone yesterday, and when they were little, no one ever gave them much affection. So they had a reasonable family. They were middle class. They didn't have any actual challenges. They just never got any physical affection. And this person's really struggling with accepting that someone actually loves her and accepting that she's okay to feel loved.
Yeah.
Because her entire childhood was spent not feeling loved. And that can't change just by being positive. That doesn't change by having a strategy. You can have all the steps you want to feel loved, but a feeling is a feeling.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a program to feel that because it never was taught to you, then how are you supposed to feel it? You know, she's super successful. She runs a multi-million-dollar business, and yet she has no idea how to feel this feeling that's so beautiful that I love so much. And I'm super blessed that I was taught how to have that feeling when I was little. So the mindset hasn't worked. The tactics and strategy hasn't worked. The success in all other areas of life haven't worked. She's got that one thing.
Yeah.
And there's only one thing that can fix that. And that happens to be what we do.
Absolutely.
So we've had, level 1 tactics and strategy, level 2 mindset and awareness. We're now deep into the unconscious mind, and we're looking at unconscious patterning, unconscious programs, and what integrated NLP does is actually repair those programs and start to restructure the way that you form beliefs, the way that you form how you look at the world, the way that you actually create a different picture for your life. And that's super exciting.
It's the most powerful work ever. And I think the most important thing when doing this work is to do it in your body.
See, that's the key. Is because there might be some people listening to this going, but I've done NLP and it also didn't work. The only reason it didn't work was because you didn't do it in your body. You did it in your head. Yep. And if you're in your head, you're dead. So in other words, you thought about it all. You did it. You learnt it as a tactic and a strategy. You learnt it as mindset and awareness.
Yes.
And you never actually got the concept of, oh, I need to actually reprogram myself. I need to actually do things differently that feel uncomfortable to reprogram myself. I need to start collecting evidence for the new version of me.
Yes, evidence of the feeling.
Yes.
I think that's the key thing. It's like, this isn't a checklist. It's not a, oh, yep, and I did that one experience and I danced on the dance floor. Wouldn't normally do that. Tick. Like, okay, great. But did you do it like robotic and like completely in your head, and were you thinking about everybody else? Or were you in your body actually dancing?
Feeling the music and moving with it.
Because it's completely different experiences.
Yeah.
And you're going to have completely different experiences in your life overall. And I know that I kind of, every time we talk about NLP, it's so challenging for me to not go, and then this was my experience.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my God, like I literally will die on the hill of this thing changed my freaking life. Because even before, when you were talking about like the mindset piece and how there's that deeper strategy that's still running the show, but you're fighting for your freaking life against it, to be like, no, but like, I'm not that person. I'm aware of it. Like, I'm not that person. Notice my language.
I've got the mindset. I feel great. I'm not that person anymore.
This is where, like, I think as well, people observing it, this is where the toxic positivity comes into play.
Absolutely.
Because they can feel that you're not great.
Yes.
And yet you're continuously projecting that you are.
Yes.
And like, that's where I would say that completely comes from.
Yeah.
However, I know that when I was in that like level 2 mindset and awareness, like phase of my own personal growth and development, I had that underlying, I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
It was complete imposter syndrome in all areas, and I'd created phenomenal success for myself.
Yeah.
However, after doing NLP, like, it's funny because I say it now, like I literally said it just before we walked into the room. We can do anything. I can do anything. It is like, so like, that is the program.
That's the program. The program is one of, I actually can do anything. Like, I was watching.
Great.
I was watching a short clip of Survivor the other night, and
you can do anything.
And
I would have the audacity to be like, I can do anything, and I'd believe it. And then I'd be in the moment and be like, humbled right now.
And I was like looking at this Survivor thing, and I was like, actually, it might not have been Survivor. It was probably, I think it was that one where they're out in the freezing cold in Alaska. I don't know what it's called.
Yeah.
But they actually have to survive. Like, the teams, they're not on an island in Fiji like in Survivor. They're actually in the middle of nowhere, and it's freezing cold.
It's like your worst nightmare.
Yeah. Cold and wet. It's raining. They're cold. They're wet. They haven't started a fire yet. And I'm like, I reckon I could do that. I reckon I could get through that purely because the program of being able to do anything is available to me.
Yeah. It's resourcefulness.
Yeah.
Like, that's...
And that doesn't mean I never whinge. Like, if it's cold, I'm going to go, oh my God, I'm cold. I don't like it. However, if I was cold and there was no way out, I would put to bed the cold program.
Yes.
And I would start a fire internally within me and get to work, because the more I work, the warmer I'm going to get.
Yeah. It's that ability to look... Actually, I'm like doing this in real time. I'm like, it's the ability to be operating a program and then go, is there a better program?
Yes.
Because you're so in your body that you're like, you can run the timeline of like, this is what? Nope, this one. Like, I want to go down this path instead. This is going to get me to the result that I want. And it's that ability to be like out and in of, okay, can I look at the full picture strategy? Now come back down in and be fully present and associated, and what has to happen next. Yeah. And for a long time for me, I had tactics and strategy. I had mindset. In fact, I grew up in a family that was quite good at mindset. My grandfather was very positive, and he used to, like, I remember there was a book he gave me called Personal Efficiency, and it was written in 1940, and I still have it. And it's all about, how do you get up in the morning and make your bed and have your clothes laid out the night before, and how do you become the most efficient version of yourself? And I really loved it. And so I lived mindset.
However, I still felt like a victim. And that victim mentality came from the fact that I was the first child. So for all your first children out there, a lot of you are going to have the underlying program of I'm not good enough, simply because your parents had another child. As a very small child, when another child turns up, you look around and the only person to blame is you. And so you create this unconscious program of I wasn't good enough, so they had to have another baby. And this is very common. First children often have I'm not good enough as a program. So I had that, and that even though I had all the mindset and lots of tools like the personal efficiency book, what I had underneath was this victim mentality of not being good enough. And so when you have a program like that, you'll keep recreating the program.
Yes.
So I eventually created a marriage where there was, physical and emotional abuse. And because that gave me more evidence that I wasn't good enough. That gave me evidence that I was a victim. And I used to talk to people about how terrible my life is and how hard it was and how many challenges there were. And when I look back now, there really wasn't that many. I really wasn't much of a victim, although my experience at the time was fully of being that.
Yes.
Yeah. Now that program is extremely difficult to access because I disconnected it and got rid of it. That program never served me. That program only allowed me to live with no gratitude ever. Like I was that kid on Christmas morning that counted the presents to make sure I got the same as my brother and sister, because that would give me evidence that I was good enough. And if they got one more, even if what I got was more expensive, if they got one more present, that was unfair, not okay, and I didn't like it because it served my victim mentality.
Yeah.
And so when you say NLP changed your life, it absolutely changed my life. I remember having an experience where I was on my timeline and I realized that actually all of the stuff that I was saying about myself was completely made up.
Yeah. Oh, just gives me goosebumps.
And that I'd been living this lie, that I was actually really intelligent, that I was actually very positive, that I actually had everything I needed to succeed. And this old program was the thing that was holding me back. And I remember just bursting into tears and bawling my eyes out and having this remembrance of who I truly was on the inside and deciding there and then that I would change my life. Now, is it like a magic wand? Like no one came to me when I first did NLP and went, ping, life changed. I had to actually do some work to collect the evidence that that version of me was the truth. So I had to do things like re-look at my marriage or my previous marriage and go, okay, well, what was good about it?
Yeah.
Instead of looking for what was bad about it, look for what, and one of the biggest questions that worked for me was, what's great about this?
Yeah. What are the positive resources that you take from it?
Yeah. What was great about this? Like I learned resilience. Yeah. I learned how to, work in a very unsavory environment so that I could do anything. And that has stood me in great stead for business by finding those kinds of pieces of evidence. You need resilience in business. So being able to look back at my life and go, actually, I formed a lot of resilience through that negative thing. And now I can use that resilience in a positive way.
Yeah.
That's like, you cannot buy that.
Yeah.
Right?
I feel like
that's a lie. You can buy it because you come and do integrated NLP, right? And you pay for something that you actually want, which is to change the program. And that changing of the program is not a magic wand. So we don't come around during the training. Caity and I don't put our fairy rings on and come around and go, ping, you're fixed, right? It has to happen internally. It's allowing yourself to be in the feeling and to be truly open to the change. So if you're in your head, it's never going to work.
Yeah, I feel like a huge piece is like, it's actually bravery. Like
yes.
it's bravery to step into your own world, internal world, and have the realization that I have been living a lie.
Yeah. Because we don't experience reality as reality is. We experience reality through the lens of our programs. And so whilst right now, if you're listening to this, you're thinking, you don't get it, you don't know what it's like to live my life, I don't. And I never can. However, I know what it was like when I was living the lie of my life.
Yeah.
And I know what happened when I finally opened myself up and really took a good look at it and realized that I was actually creating that.
Yeah, it's almost like the sunken cost fallacy you get for your whole existence.
Yeah.
It's like, but I've been living this program my whole life. It can't possibly be the program. It's like, well, actually, it most likely is.
Yeah.
And your ability to have the courage and the bravery
Yeah.
and like the freaking like awareness and to drop your pride and drop your
Yes.
ego and go, okay, I'm going to sit here because maybe there is a different way.
Yeah.
Maybe there is a different way that I can, like a different like program I can operate from.
Yeah.
And maybe that would serve me wildly in so many areas of my life. And maybe the program that I so desperately want to like protect and hold on to, which is your unconscious mind just wanting sameness,
Yeah.
is the exact thing that needs to be untangled. It's
Yeah.
like this like necklace that's in this like tight knot. And it's like, okay, maybe we get to untangle that now. And maybe we get to look at, okay, like I want to keep this. I want to keep the resilience.
Yeah.
Like one of my favorite questions ever, and I know we've asked it on the podcast freaking 100 years
Millions
ago,
of times.
is it like, what is the worst thing that's ever happened to you and how is it the best thing?
Mm-hmm.
And on the weekend, I was with some new friends. So like I've recently joined a new gym over the last few months and we had a social get together and it was so great, like so great to be around people and deepen those connections more than just like a high five or a like, let's go, you know, in that gym setting. And we're sitting there and I can't help myself in these environments. Like I have to, like my friends used to call them Caity questions. They're like, here she goes. And I asked them like, okay, they're like, we were asking other questions. They're like, oh, we love your questions, Caity. What else have you got? And I was like, oh, well, like I've got a deep one. Like if you want to go deep. And I asked them like, what's the worst thing that's ever happened to you and how is it the best thing? And they struggled.
Yeah.
They
Because they
struggled
don't
with it.
want to go there. They don't
Yeah.
want to go to the worst thing. And I think there's this piece in life where you get to the point where the breakthrough that you're seeking is so important to you that the fear of looking at yourself deeply and truly can dissolve.
Yeah.
Right? When I realized that my whole life I'd talked about myself as a victim and my whole life I'd talked about how I was abused and how terrible it was, I still felt in some ways, or I still thought in some ways that, yeah, okay, my ex did this stuff to me and that wasn't okay. And it wasn't. However, I started looking for what was great. And I started remembering that there were a lot of times that we had fun and there was a lot of things that were great. And then I focused on that. And I slowly but surely changed the program. And this is the thing, like I remember a girl that came to our training last year and she didn't want to dance. And she's in the training room and we have a full participation agreement. So you sign a form to say that you're going to fully participate. And this girl didn't want to dance. And she's like, I don't have to dance. Like I know how to dance already. I don't have to dance. And I encouraged her to dance and she didn't want to do it. And then I said, listen, if you don't want to dance, then you're not fully participating. This is never going to work for you. And you probably should leave actually. And she's like, I don't want to leave. I've paid for this training. I want this training. And I'm like, then you're going to dance. And it came as a real surprise to her because I think in society we've created this right of refusal, right? Where people are like,
Oh my God.
you can have whatever you want in life and you have the right to refuse whatever you want in life. And it comes along with consent culture. And whilst I agree that there are certain things in life where consent is super important, there are times in life where you have to decide to not consent or to revoke your consent in order to change, right? Like you have to consent to things you don't want in order to change. And so I remember when I did my NLP, I had to consent to telling people about what had happened to me, whereas I'd never done that before. And it was my right of refusal to not do it. However, if I didn't do it,
For what?
I would have never got to the root cause and I would never have been able to change. And so people have this weird way of hiding things. And this girl didn't want to dance. And then I said, well, if you're not going to dance, you can leave. She then started dancing and she danced in her head. So it was basically step, tap, and she knew everyone was looking at her. And slowly but surely over the course of 7 days, she moved into actually dancing, feeling the dance, having fun, being the person that put up her hand and said, can we dance?
Mm-hmm.
And she started to change from within her body. That's why we call it integrated NLP. So she started this change from within her body. She started to truly change who she was and she started to feel again. And she started to recognize that version of herself that she loved.
Yeah.
And then we've continued to coach her over time. And this is an ongoing journey. The 7 days isn't the magic wand. The 7 days is the beginning and the realization that you can. And then you have to put things in place step by step to continue to reinforce the new program.
Yes.
So that it becomes the default program. And so amazingly, yesterday, and you don't know this yet, she jumped on the group call that we have in Amplify. And she was smiling and she was excited. And she said, I've heard people talk about the energy in the room. And I've always just gone, yeah, whatever, because I've never felt it. And I've heard people talk about when you're on stage and you're delivering, you get into this flow. But I've been on stage before and I've never felt it. And she ran an event last weekend. And she said, I get it now. I hugged everyone on their way in and I felt them and I connected with them and I knew when they were in and when they were out and I knew when to grab them back in and I felt all the energy and I can feel the energy in my entire life now and I know that I'm on the right path now.
Yeah.
And like that
Huge.
is huge. And that was so brave because her childhood was something that no one would want to live. You know, her past program is one of everyone's out to get me. And now she's in a position where she can actually have a real life example of loving people.
Yeah.
And that makes me happy and it makes me know that I've done my job.
Yeah, and receiving the love as well, I think, is
Yes.
the biggest piece there, right? It's like, because you can love people in your head as well. And I feel like people forget that. They go, oh, but I do. I love them.
I do love them because they say they love them, but they don't feel
it.
the love for
Like,
them.
you got to be down. You got to get in and then push out
forward,
as opposed to it just being from that top plane.
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing in this is we have to get to that level 3 where those unconscious programs are sitting. We have to look at restructuring identity, and this is what we do through integrated NLP.
Yes.
And our next training is actually coming up in 2 weeks.
Yes, very soon.
It's actually coming up in 2 weeks. And so if you've been listening to this and considering integrated NLP, the time to jump in is actually now, right? And you might be still having those weird thoughts, and this is that moment for bravery where you actually get to go, okay, I'm going to challenge the program. The program that says I don't have enough money, the program that says I can't take the time away from my children or my family or my job, the program that says
It won't
it's
work
not
for
going to
me.
work for me, I'm going to challenge all of that and jump in and actually experience what it's like to feel differently and then upgrade my program from that place rather than trying to upgrade it from that place of strategy and mindset where it still feels bad on the inside.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this training totally teaches you that level 3. It teaches you how to reprogram. It teaches you how to then look for evidence in the future.
Yes. Gives you the experience of, I think, is the biggest thing. It's like an opportunity for you to fully experience and fully immerse yourself in change.
Yeah. And I love that. So what do they do if they want to come along?
They book a call.
Yay.
They book a call with either Liz or myself and you have a chat with us.
Yep.
We can tell you all about it. We can give you all of the information, all the details, like tick all the boxes in your brain that are probably opening up right now. And we can give you an experience of what it feels like to be around us.
Yep.
And then you can come and join us for 7 days in room.
And if right now 7 days isn't available to you, we have another training in July. So we've got one in March, one in July, one in October.
Yes.
And if you've got a brand new baby, for example, and you just can't take those 7 days away, then you've got an opportunity to join us in something like Elevate or Amplify, where all of these tools and resources are still available for you and you can grow your business in there as well.
Yeah. We've got so many options.
Yeah.
And you can discover all of those on a call.
Absolutely. So jump down below, jump in the link and book a call with us.
Yay.
We'll see you next time.